Good evening, everybody.
Oh, is your girth worth today, Andy?
My girth has gone up in value, actually.
It's gone up in value?
Yeah.
So here we are, mate. It's been a while. It's been 3 weeks, so we're a week behind.
Yeah, we'll let it slip a little bit.
I'll tell you what, I miss the podcast.
Yeah, I miss the poddy.
I genuinely do.
I'm sure all of our 10 listeners miss it as well.
Wait a minute. We had at least
40 a month.
And that was just on all of the other podcasts,
That's
and not
true,
YouTube. YouTube.
Yeah, that's
and
true.
Twitch.
And Twitch, yeah.
So it's probably more like 42. A lot's happened in the last 3 weeks. I feel like even though it's only been an extra week, that it feels like another 3 or 4 months worth of world has passed by.
It has, but we did have a little catch up, didn't we? We went for in fact, we met a few times since the last pod. So it's not like we're bursting full of stuff, desperate to say to each other, because we've got some of it out of the way. But we'll cover some bits again.
The Carlisle-Salford game that we went to in Salford was not disappointing for me. I enjoyed it a lot, but I was a little bit underwhelmed by Salford's ground. 5,000 people. Yeah. It was a bit smaller and shitter than I thought it would be.
Yeah. And I actually, considering the class of 92 have owned Salford now for a few years, the standard was still shitter than what I was expecting.
But the lights looked good, didn't they?
The lights are. Floodlights are beautiful.
Yeah, absolute monuments, those things are. I was disappointed they didn't accept cards as well. We had to go get a taxi to Aldi.
That's a shocker.
Lidl, and get some cash out and then just come back, and then someone else was there.
At least have a cash machine on site.
I know.
Outside the ground or something.
Minimum standard. I mean, it's not like it's going to get abused with just 5,000 people going there.
Yeah.
What else did we do? We watched the United and Southampton game.
Yeah, you came around to mine and watched the United game, and having United had just drawn their last 2 games 1-1, and this had 1-1 written all over it, didn't it?
Kind of did, yeah. Yeah. We've got a little bit to talk about with Man United later on in the pod. We're going to talk a little bit about Harry Kane. So
Harry Kane?
Not Harry Kane.
His name's written there on the whiteboard, mate.
It actually is. I just can't see it because it's further down the list.
Kell Brook.
Kell Brook. Harry Maguire.
Putin.
Oh, God. You need to talk about some happiness, apparently.
There were 2 things in my life since we last did a podcast that discussed what real happiness is. And one of them started off with, have you ever heard of Aesops Fables, depending on how you pronounce it? And so they're basically stories using animals to provide a sort of moral tale.
Yeah.
Aesop's Fables, heard this tale, which one I've never heard of this one before. It's called The Ass and the Idol.
Right, okay. I feel like this is a joke.
No, it's not. This is serious.
Teeing up a bad joke here.
I'm not. This is serious. Look, you can see how much I've written about it.
Oh, for God's sake.
This is not a long-winded joke. So it's actually about the donkey and the idol, right? And I'll quickly run through the story for you, and then I'll give you the moral take on it, and then I'll tell you how that links into
Am I going to be morally well-rounded after this?
I hope so, yeah.
Right, okay. Do you mean you hope so?
See if it has a good effect on you. So, a talented sculptor made a beautiful idol, which is a term for a sculpture, like a little carved like sculpture of a god or something like that. He made a really, really good one for a rich guy on the other side of town. So, to take it through town, he put it on the back of his donkey and walked through town. And as he goes through the town, all of the public all stop and they're all like, wow, look at that. That is beautiful. That's the most amazing thing I've ever seen. And the donkey is like, wow, everyone thinks I'm amazing. I've never seen this before. This is great. So the donkey is unbelievably like astounded by the adoration that the public are giving him. He gets really like self-confident and he's like, this is great. I want a bit more of this. So they carry on through the town and they go to the buyer, this rich guy who's going to buy the sculpture. The buyer rips off the sculpture, says, he takes the sculpture, says, I'm not paying you any money for it. And then so as they're heading back to the sculptor's home, the sculptor's obviously pissed off. He starts beating the donkey, starts whipping him with a stick and taking out his frustration on the poor donkey. And they're walking through the town and all of these people that had seen the donkey and were like, wow, look at that donkey. Although they were actually praising the sculpture, but the donkey thought it was about him. The donkey's now like, what? All these people loved me like an hour ago. Why are they just like laughing and not helping? What's going on here? As it's going on, it dawns on him that the sculpture was what everybody was admiring. That's essentially the story, and I'll just break it down for you. So the donkey is supposed to represent us as human beings. The idol on our back, or the sculpture on our back, is supposed to represent your ideal self, like the way you want to portray yourself to other people.
Okay.
So not your real self, but actually look at my nice car, look how in shape I am, look how beautiful I am, look how much money I earn, all of these things.
You can literally see the shape I'm in right now.
And then the master beating you are all of the tough things that you have to overcome in life, essentially.
Okay.
So the moral of the story of this one is being happy with who you are yourself rather than what's on your back or what you're showing to the world. And the theory is that if you're constantly chasing the next thing on your back, once that sculpture's gone, you're like, well, give me another sculpture. I want to find something else to impress other people. Yeah. That tied in with a book that I'm reading, which is by a monk. In fact, the book's called A Monk's Guide to Happiness. Okay. And essentially, he says a similar thing. He doesn't refer to that tale, but he says by continually chasing short-term rewards that you think are going to make you happy, whether it's like eating a nice cake or buying a nice car or getting a promotion at work, all these sort of things that you think impress other people, you're never actually going to get to a situation where you're genuinely happy in yourself. And he says, being free from wanting happiness is actually true happiness. So instead of thinking, what do I need to make myself happy?
You just are happy.
Yeah, exactly. You're happy with your life in the present day. Hearing that tale and then reading that chapter in this book, both like,
was this within a short space of time?
Yeah, within like a day or two. And if you can adjust your mindset to think, I'm not happy now, what do I need to make me happy? Well, I want a nicer car, I want a better job, I want more money. And
I think we just turned into a motivational podcast.
Yeah, philosophical / motivational podcast, yeah.
The UK is being absolutely battered right now by storms. Yeah. And there are some pretty funny videos I've seen on TikTok. Have you seen the videos of the Millennium Dome?
Oh, yeah.
It's absolutely being ripped to shreds.
Of it, yeah.
Yeah. I think that's kind of funny.
Literally is being ripped to shreds, isn't it? Like,
but, I mean, they did make it out of fabric, so kind of
you're
asking for it, really. Yeah. But so far there's one woman that's died. A tree's fallen on her and killed her, or a car or whatever.
What a way to go that is.
I know, it's mad, isn't it? The thing is, if it happens, it's probably going to happen quite quickly, isn't it? So, like at least.
Yeah, all of our bins were blown over.
So we've just been talking about a woman who's just died from it, and you're a bit unhappy about your bins being knocked over. Yeah. Sounds like first world problems, mate. One thing that is annoying me, TikTok is basically my world now.
Right.
Because, I go to the toilet a lot, and there's not much more to do when you're on the toilet than watch TikTok. I'm sure a lot of listeners will relate to this.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of people doing impressions of Michael Jackson, the Earth song, where it's just the winds, and it's just getting a bit cringe, to be honest. So the sooner this storm can pass, the sooner we can all be happy.
But they were like fully leaning into the wind, and keeping them up. Well,
but like taking the Mickey out of the song, with like a shirt.
I get that. Yeah. But that still just shows how strong the wind really is. I mean, MJ would have used machines, wouldn't he?
It must be strong if people are doing Michael Jackson impressions.
Yeah, exactly. You know it's strong when TikTok's full of Michael Jackson impressions. Do you remember last podcast what the goose news was? Down in Cornwall, there was a female goose named Derek that lived there for many years, and eventually it died.
Yeah.
And now they're building a big statue of Derek the goose. Yeah. I checked actually on the statue fundraising, and they haven't quite reached the target. We need to share that after this.
And I'll make a donation.
I'll make a donation as well, so we'll push it over the line. I have actually contributed some way into the donation.
Okay.
With today's top shelf.
Oh, you've bought something that's... Oh, you've even got the bag ready as well. Oh my God, this guy is prepped.
I've forgotten the label though for the old YouTube.
Right, okay, it's fine.
Here's the brown bag with a question mark.
It's getting a bit battered. That we need a new one.
I like it. The more battered, the better. Right, I'm going to do 2 reveals because I've got another bag under this.
That's what I say about drinking.
2 reveals minimum.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's exactly what I was talking about.
More battered, the better.
Another bag.
Yeah, another
You've just revealed another bag.
I just said I'm doing 2 reveals.
Is it on the camera? Oh, hello. Hey! Is it? Oh, it's Goose Island.
It is.
Oh my God.
So Goose Island have made a special beer called Derek, and some of the money goes towards the statue.
Hazy IPA. Oh my God. Can I read this out?
Go for it.
You read the other one. This IPA, so it's 4.2%. It's called Derek. This IPA is brewed in honour of Derek, Watchet Town's beloved goose who has recently gone missing, having migrated there 10 years ago. Our dip hop IPA is light and refreshing, and we are sending Derek good migrations wherever she may be.
Mm. What a nice touch.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Anyone that's listening on YouTube or like Twitch right now, live or whatever, anyone that's listening on Spotify, we're going to drop the link in the description, so you can donate to the statue to get a statue of Derek the goose, the female goose,
or get yourself over to the Goose Island shop online and get some Derek Hazy IPA.
Nice. I'm impressed. So is there another one as well now?
No, that's it.
Well,
2 reveals was because I had 2 bags.
Oh, right. All right, okay, nice.
So
we're moving away from spirits this time?
Yeah.
Oh,
well, just because it was such a one-off, I thought...
It's got a good bum, though.
Yeah, just because it was so special, this I thought it's really worth.
It is.
I wish I'd had it for the last episode to talk about Goose News and Top Shelf.
Mate, to Derek.
To Derek, the female goose.
Have you got some headlines
I'm
for
need
us?
My phone for this.
Headlines. Sam's going to read out 3 wacky headlines from the UK. Headlines in the last couple of weeks.
Yeah, and I've got the links saved handily to open up whichever one you go for.
You've not investigated any of these, hopefully.
No.
And I'm going to pick one of them and we'll investigate it a little bit more. This didn't start as a segment on the podcast. It came halfway through, just like me.
Yeah.
And it's been a roaring success so far.
Nice, like a little joke then.
Yeah, it was good.
Man reunited with false teeth 11 years after vomiting them into a bin in Benidorm.
How is that even possible?
Reality star who received death threats for selling £38,000 worth of fart jars reveals next career move.
Oh, God.
Businessman named Mr. D spends £200 a month on dirty socks, but says it's normal.
I heard about the lady that sells farts.
Okay.
And I did not know she was making a career move, so I am very keen to hear about that one.
Right then. The first line on this fart jar woman's article: she had a fart attack.
Wait, what? She had a fart? Did she actually have a heart attack?
No, it says she had a fart attack. That's all it says.
Okay.
And then it goes into the actual article. A reality TV star who launched a gassy venture peddling her fancy flatulence to strangers, Stephanie Matto, 31, blew away people on social media when she recently announced that she makes more than $50,000 a week selling her farts. That's amazing, isn't it?
Imagine making like pretty much your wage in just
in
1
farts.
week, and all you've got to do is fart in a bottle and send it to people.
It's worth trying, isn't it? Electric honk fart jars.
I'm down. All in the name of Derek.
Yeah, all profits go to Derek's statue fund. The Connecticut resident had gained international recognition after appearing on the reality show 90 Day Fiancé and later started her own YouTube channel. She wrote books and founded an X-rated subscription site called Unfiltered. She then really made waves with her olfactory business by capturing her emissions in jars and selling them.
Emissions. They make it sound so posh.
I know, because she thought it would be a hilarious publicity move that would get a lot of people's attention. But after making $200,000 in sales, the influencer announced her retirement when she passed one too many and the wind got knocked out of her jar. Matto was rushed to hospital with chest pains she feared were symptoms of a heart attack, according to the news. After undergoing a battery of tests, including blood work and an ECG, Matto was told that her pain was the result of her steady diet of gas-inducing beans and eggs.
Oh, right, so she was eating... Oh, okay.
I thought I was having a stroke and that these were my final moments, Matto told the news. I was overdoing it. The self-proclaimed fartpreneur had squeezed up to 50 jars worth of farts a week to keep up with demand, and even added protein shakes to her diet to make them more pungent.
Oh, God.
I remember within one day I had
rank.
about 3 protein shakes and a huge bowl of black bean soup, she said. I could tell that something was not right, and that evening I was lying in bed and I could feel a pressure in my stomach moving upward. It was quite hard to breathe, and every time I breathed in I felt a pinching sensation around my heart. And that, of course, made my anxiety escalate. I actually called my friend and asked if they would drive me to the hospital because I thought I was experiencing a heart attack. What I was experiencing wasn't a stroke or a heart attack, but very intense gas pains. I was advised to change my diet.
She was bloated?
Yeah.
For fuck's sake.
I was advised to change my diet and take a gas suppressant medication, which has effectively ended my business, she said. The newly retired fart peddler said she plans to donate a portion of her income to a charity that supports gastric disorders. That's nice. Even though I got a backlash, I think it has opened a new door for me. I'm working on a digital fart jar artwork at the moment. I think everything happens for a reason, and although my fart selling days are ending, I'm going to save the money I've made and put some into crypto, she added. That's the end of the article. That's her career move.
A career move is putting money into crypto.
Yeah.
Oh my God. I can relate though, to be fair. Man, imagine if you could sell your farts for 200 grand.
Yeah.
My wife gets them for free.
Definitely the big story of the week is Prince Andrew, who was due to attend court for a civil case against whatever her name was. Prince Andrew was expected to have to answer all the questions and all of the details were going to come out in court. And they've settled out of court for an unknown amount, but they're estimating tens of millions, aren't they?
We did speak about this in a past podcast, and one of the things we said was that she wanted to settle only if it was just for more than money. She didn't want it just to be about money.
Right.
So she wanted like a meaningful change. She wanted recognition of the stuff she'd been through. And funnily enough, there has been recognition towards her, the abuse that she's taken. If you remember the narrative from him, it was all like, she's a liar, I don't remember who she is, and like basically like shit talking her.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, he's now saying she was a victim and giving money to her charity for victims and so on and so forth. So it's pretty obvious what's happened here. They must have some pretty damning evidence.
Absolutely.
And before it goes to court, they've just gone, you know what? Let's just do. And they estimate that it's $12 million.
That's been the figure that's been put out, but no one actually knows. It could be way more than that.
But they are saying that $2 million of it is from the Queen, and the Queen's giving $2 million to the charity apparently.
Right, and the Queen gets funded by me and you.
Yeah, just us two.
Yeah, I had loads of money till I donated that $2 million ding to the Queen.
Surely he can't come back from that. I can't see him having any more public life and earning money from.
No,
so it has
he's
to be
disgraced
from the state.
Because it's clearly him that has pushed for the settlement, because he's not prepared to stand up in court and answer all of the questions that are put to him.
I mean, he's not great at answering questions.
No, he's horrific. So he's done himself a favour there. But the payout has surely got to be way more than what the court would have ordered him to had he been found guilty.
I was thinking this because you would expect 2 to 5 million maybe if he was found guilty.
Yeah.
But obviously the damage it then does if he actually is found guilty in that court.
And with everything being open then for the whole world to know the details of everything.
Yeah. So then it becomes a Netflix documentary and all the rest of it, right?
So he's basically had to fork out as much as he can afford, or him and his family can afford, to prevent him from having to answer questions in court.
I just think he's an absolute scumbag, and he's using taxpayers' money to fund his scumbaggery, basically.
Essentially, yeah.
Patch it up.
Yeah.
And I hope the guy gets some serious karma his way. You can't say that someone's guilty. Like, he's allegedly, he's been alleged to do those things. He's not been found guilty, so we make that really, really clear. But I smell a liar, personally.
You've got to remember, though, as well, though, I mean, I agree with everything you said. I'm sure he's guilty of it, but there was no criminal case brought against him. The criminal prosecutors,
a quirk in the American law
they went
system.
after Epstein, and the other woman that was involved as well. I think they went after her, didn't they?
So, yeah.
The fact that they didn't go after him criminally means we'll never know whether he'd be found guilty or not of criminal prosecution. But it was likely that he was going to lose this civil case. Yeah, and I don't know if you remember in the past, certainly in the UK, we've discussed that for a civil case, it only needs to be 51% likely that you did do it and 49% that you didn't do it. Whereas for a criminal case, you need to be 100%. It needs to be beyond all doubt. Yeah.
Reasonable doubt. Yeah.
So, he probably thought, you know what? Even if I didn't do it, I think there's a 51% or greater chance that people are going to think that I did do it.
Surely the monetary damage that it would do to the monarch is worthwhile. Even though I think it's bad that they've probably funded it from taxpayer money, that money is probably going to save them a lot more money in the long run, I think.
Absolutely, yeah.
So, a lot of people are looking at it and saying, we funded this, but actually, by it going down that route, it means probably the taxpayer's paying less, I think.
Potentially, yeah.
So, scum.
And you've got to think as well, the old conspiracy theories always include, like, the elite establishment and the royal families and all those all being paedophiles, and that has like absolutely lit the fire, hasn't it, of that?
Oh yeah. You said this before. It's like there's so much fuel and smoke, yet we haven't seen the fire yet, have we?
That's true, yeah.
Yeah, speaking of criminals, Zuma got criminalised in the last couple of weeks.
The footballer for West Ham.
West Ham, yeah.
Released a video. And I was actually
I think it was
too
one of his
scared to watch
friends.
it. Right.
I'm sure it was like one of his best friends that released it.
And apparently there was a child laughing in the background as well.
Yeah, and I saw it up until the point where he was sort of dropping the cat.
Right.
And then they froze it. And then, but you get the gist of what's happening.
Okay.
He basically drop kicks a cat.
Yeah.
Across the room.
And doesn't he like slap it as well or something as well?
I didn't see that bit, but yeah, possibly.
Brutal. And then which is absolutely disgusting. There's absolutely
there's no good reason for it.
To torture an animal like that. And especially in Britain, we hate people that treat animals badly.
We're a fan of pets in Great Britain, yeah. We the members of the family. It's like kicking or punching a member of the family.
Yeah, it is.
Which,
absolutely.
to be fair, in some families is the norm.
Yeah.
But not a footballer's family, typically.
And then the West Ham manager came out and said, that'll all get dealt with separately, but he's one of our best players, so we're going to keep him in the team. And then he played the next game, and the fans, even the West Ham fans, were just booing him. Like, it was so vocal, the dislike for him. I think the next game, or the one after, he suddenly decided that he was unwell. The stress was giving him like stomach aches and things, and he didn't want to play anymore.
Right, okay. So he wants the sympathy voters. That really annoys me.
Whether he had it or not, I think him and the club just decided, if we actually just take you out of the spotlight for a little bit, it's probably going to be best for everyone. But we won't say that you're sorry or anything like that. We'll just say you're feeling a bit unwell.
Yeah, it's a bit of a shame because West Ham are doing really, really well at the moment.
Yeah.
And hopefully that doesn't derail them. It'd be nice to see a new team get into the top four. And they're in with a good spot of doing that. So
yeah, well, as somebody who wants Man United to make it in top four, hopefully it does derail them. So I've been watching a series on BBC called The Tourist. Really good program. And it's about this guy, an Irish guy who goes to Australia, gets into a car accident, and then wakes up in hospital and has got no idea who he is. I can't remember who said it, but somewhere in that series, somebody teaches him the history of the salute. And that what they say is that French knights in particular, although I imagine it was all knights, when they've got their big metal helmets on and their visors down.
I thought you were talking about French knights when people just dress up as the French.
Yeah, French themed that, isn't it?
Yeah.
I'm talking about knights in shining armour.
Just turning up with baguettes and stuff.
So you imagine they've got the big metal helmet on and they've got the visor, they've got like the little bit that they can see out of. Yeah. And above that, there's usually like a little rim, isn't there? Just like above their eyebrow sort of area. And so in order to show their face to their colleagues, so they can recognise each other, they would lift up their visor. So they put their hand like that and lift up their visor so they could show their face to their colleagues. And that's how it started from that. So people learnt to do that, to sort of acknowledge and as a gesture to say, I'm one of you, I'm a colleague.
Do you know about cheers? How that originated?
I know one theory of it.
With the poison.
That's it, yeah.
So the theory of why you cheers each other, we might as well do one. Cheers. Dates back to, I think, the medieval era, where they used to pour a little bit of each other's drinks into each other's drinks to make sure that it wasn't poisoned.
The way I understood it was they would smash their tankards together, and then everybody's drink would spill up and land randomly in different people's drinks.
I've not heard that one. I thought they just poured a bit in.
Could be
like that.
Could be that. But when you see on old televisions and all these big brutes whoa, cheers, and everybody's drinks and all spray up everywhere.
Blackadder.
Yeah, exactly, that sort of thing. And then, so that was if anybody's drink was poisoned, there's a risk that it could go into anybody else's drink. Yeah.
But part of me thinks, how effective is it if the poison's getting watered down quite significantly across 8 people? I mean, I've not thought about it much, but
we'll test it out one day.
Can't think of a poison. Laxatives.
Arsenic.
And we'll go with the laxatives.
Talking about Nick. I was going to bring us on to Nick Clegg, but we've got a smoother transition to Nick Clegg.
We do have a smooth transition here.
Let's go to Super Bowl. So you didn't see the Super Bowl halftime. I showed you.
Heard a lot about it, but yeah. I heard that Eminem took the knee and...
That's it, yeah. So Dr. Dre, Eminem, Snoop Dogg. Proper old, going back to the classic hip-hop R&B days.
So the Super Bowl is American football, right?
Yeah.
They take it really seriously over there, don't they?
Well, that is the
biggest, World Series.
Yeah, that is the biggest game of the season. I don't really follow American football. I find it lasts too long. But the halftime show is always a big event as well, isn't it?
Yeah.
But I don't know if you knew, apart from that live one, Meta, formerly known as Facebook, you could actually get your virtual reality headset on and tune in to a metaverse concert instead of watching the live one on television.
French night.
No, it was Foo Fighters.
Foo Fighters,
You could tune in and watch a Foo Fighters
They've been
gig.
paid a wedge for that, haven't they?
Yeah. So this was like the first real big test of the metaverse. Like, get your headset on and come and watch a live gig with Foo Fighters. Apparently, only a quarter of the people who had gone on to log in to view this could actually gain access to the concert.
So they had technical issues. Oh, God.
Yeah,
That's not a good
It
start,
was
is
an
it?
absolute fail. The people that could get in said that the camera angles were shit. They were like, there was video footage of like people walking in front of the camera and stuff, and they said they were trying to look around, and it was just an awful experience.
They weren't able to really get up close and personal and smell Dave Grohl's bollocks.
That's right, yeah, which is what you want, isn't it, in the metaverse?
Absolutely.
The first real opportunity to get metaverse experience like out there and get people talking about it, and it just failed.
I did see something. So it's notoriously incredibly expensive to get adverts on in the slots between the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
You'd normally not want to watch the adverts between big events like that, but people do watch the adverts because they're normally unique adverts to the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
Sometimes they're tailored as part of the Super Bowl,
Yeah.
and they're normally one-offs and so on.
Yeah.
So, and it can be quite creative as well.
Yeah.
And a couple of years ago, I remember hearing that someone paid like 4 or 5 million for like a 30-second advert during the Super Bowl, when it was just like an insane amount of money. Well, now it's like 7 or 8 million, as you'd expect. It's gone up. There's a company called Pulsar, and they do cars that compete.
Yeah.
With Tesla, so an electric vehicle.
Yeah.
But I didn't realise they were owned by Volvo.
Oh, are they?
Yeah,
Nice.
yeah, I didn't know that. They did an advert during the Super Bowl. I did see that they did this advert, and it was along the line. It was like text. It was almost like an Apple advert, and it was arrogant.
Okay.
And it was like no quirky, no cheese, no, and it was like no this, no that, no that. And they were basically taking the mickey out of all cars, no cliches and all of this. And then one of them was like no launching rockets to Mars and all this kind of stuff.
Okay.
And then it was just along the lines of just a simple, amazing drive or whatever.
Yeah.
But then they got absolutely like destroyed on Twitter afterwards.
Did
they? Yeah, they did, because of like emissions scandals and other stuff like that.
Oh, no.
So they got completely destroyed. It was a PR nightmare on Twitter. I did see that.
And that takes us nicely on to Nick Clegg.
As smooth as a baby's bum. Shit, we used from Meta to bollocks. I spoiled it.
No, it's fine. You tell me about Nick Clegg.
And that takes us nicely. Nick Clegg has been promoted at Facebook. Did you hear this? He is effectively at the same level as Mark Zuckerberg now.
I don't get how that's
leadership.
possible. How is that possible? I mean, the guy is a fool anyway. I mean, on that front alone, how has he worked his way up Facebook so highly?
Is he a fool? I'm questioning my whole livelihood right now.
He's an absolute genius.
I know, yeah.
I suppose what he does offer is a backdoor into British politics.
A back door, a front door.
Yeah.
I think...
A red carpet.
Back door, red carpet. I think he does know probably quite a lot about policy and regulation in Europe. So I think that is pretty valuable. But I wonder if he actually is just quite a hard worker.
Maybe. But there'll be people out there who know loads more than him about European policy. It's the political connections. It's got to be.
The only real way to make money in politics is to leave politics and go into the private sector and do something that is built on your politics career.
Yeah, buy Facebook shares.
Yeah. So talking about Facebook shares, actually, that was really
Nice
smooth.
link.
Well done. Very good. It's almost like it's scripted.
There's literally an arrow that says Facebook share price from Nick Clegg.
Their share price did go down significantly in the last couple of weeks since the last podcast.
He showed me the graph and it literally fell off a cliff, didn't it?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It was like
What
the cliffs of Dover. So they gave their quarterly results, and for the first time ever, Facebook has lost active users.
Oh, right.
So every single quarter on quarter, they've gone up by active users, and for the first time ever, it went down. And I think also their profits were not as high as expected as well. So those two things combined shows that they're like plateauing. And there's been rumours that that's been happening for a while, but they basically confirmed it, and the market just shit their pants and everyone just sold. And I think there's probably a bit of a panic selling moment. But it's also, since that major drop, and it dropped nearly 25%, because of the value of Facebook, it's one of the most valuable companies in the world, 25% by value is the biggest drop in history of any share price in that space of time. And it was like half a day or something like that. So I don't know what the exact figure was, but it was along the lines of like 300, 400 billion that they dropped in value. And they've since continued to drop in value. So it could be a sign that Facebook is on its way out, or at least has got a lot of challenges to come.
It's concerning if they're losing users, because once people switch off from Facebook, it's quite hard to get them back into it again, isn't it?
I think so.
I can't see what they would do to get people to come back into Facebook once you've decided enough's enough, I'm leaving.
Well, part of me thinks that the fact that they're sort of so aggressively trying to diversify into the metaverse, that maybe they've seen the writing on the wall for such a long time, that they're having to do that to almost take the focus away from the social media platform.
That's a good point, yeah.
And Facebook are good at being resilient with stuff like that. I remember that they, back when they first IPO'd on the New York Stock Exchange, they ended up, the share price went up a little bit, but then it tanked on the day or within a few days of first launching. And it was because that people thought that they couldn't advertise very well on mobile phones.
Yeah.
And then essentially what's happened is Facebook turned that into a strength and have done very, very well on mobile ever since. And it was almost like they got like a bee in their bonnet about the fact that they were bad at it and then became good at it. And I just wonder if this is something that they're going to kind of, almost like you would back them to do well in the metaverse out of spite, almost.
Yeah. It's like you can imagine the top bosses in Facebook like really getting fired up by this and being like, we're going to sort this out now.
Nick Clegg.
Yeah, he's going around whipping people's asses, isn't he? He's going to be like the master spanking the donkey as they walk back through the town. So I read that Russia had taken troops away from the front line, and then you were like, oh, mate, you haven't been following this at all. So update me.
They've said that they are removing troops for a few days. They've been saying they're removing troops to try and de-escalate in an effort to de-escalate. But the intel shows that they have not been doing that at all.
Okay.
They've been making moves to not only bring more troops to the border, but improve infrastructure so that the troops can get there better. And they've moved the troops further forward in that process.
Okay.
So they've done pretty much the polar opposite of what they said that they would do. See, I've been hearing figures of like 80 to 100,000 troops surrounding Ukraine, which is a lot of troops, particularly if they're all geared up, which they are.
Yeah.
But it turns out today, I read the figures, the latest figures are estimating 149,000 troops all surrounding Ukraine. And I was thinking about this. If they attack Ukraine and take over Ukraine territorially, you'd be forgiven to think, okay, well, they've done their job because they stopped at Crimea for 7 years, right? But when you've got such a huge army all around the borders, what's to stop them from continuing into Poland? And
well, their plan is to unite all of the Russian-speaking countries, isn't it, and rebuild the old.
Well, that's what they say. Yeah.
Surely they're not going to go after like Central European countries.
Well, Poland is right next to it. It touches borders with the Ukraine, doesn't it? Poland.
I don't know actually.
It does.
Okay.
Yeah. So I'm not suggesting they would go straight for Poland, but when you've got so many troops all lined up and ready to go and geared up, and you've got all the battleships that are in the seas nearby and so on, they've also announced just today that they're testing cruise missiles and ballistic missiles, which is basically saying it's just a routine exercise to test the rockets that would have warheads on them.
Yeah.
But it's basically like saying we've got nukes, just reminding people they've got nukes.
Yeah.
It's a scary time.
And what are your thoughts on their motivations? Because a lot of the theory is that they're scaring the rest of the world so they can force through this gas pipe, which will earn them billions of dollars.
Well, the gas pipe is under construction. So they one of the sanctions could be that Germany don't accept that gas pipe.
That's it, yeah.
So
mainly
it'd be wasted,
Germans, isn't it?
Which would screw Germany because they rely on, I think, 50% of their power is from Russia.
Yeah.
From the existing gas pipe that this is being built alongside. If you're talking about motives, I think Putin obviously wants to weaken NATO. So NATO has moved its borders forwards towards Russia, not by moving armies towards them, but just by acquiring new countries into NATO since it was formed in I think it was 1949. So NATO now accounts for 50% of the economic power in the world and more than 50% of the military power in the world. but Russia does still have nukes.
Yeah.
So that's the worrying thing.
The thing is, NATO was clearly set up for peaceful aims. I mean, unless you actually want another world war, why wouldn't every country in the world just sign up to NATO and go, yeah, you know what, world war is a bad idea, we'll sign up as well?
I know. Well, this is the problem here is that Europe is saying that any country should have the choice, sovereignty, to join whatever body that they feel like they need to join, which includes Ukraine if they want to join NATO, which they do want to join NATO. They're not in there at the moment. So, and Russia's basically saying, well, you've already moved forward with NATO because of the countries that have sort of folded in. Ukraine is like a dagger to the heart geographically to Russia. They're basically drawing a line in the sand and saying if Ukraine join, or if there's no guarantees that Ukraine won't join NATO, they're going to take the Ukraine.
I just find the stance against NATO a weird place to be.
I do.
Like, we're a peaceful organisation, and you're standing against them. Like, why?
And it's not like you can look at that and say, well, you say you're a peaceful organisation, but you're not really, are you? Yeah. We literally have kept peace in Europe since NATO.
Exactly. And the other thing I find funny about the whole Russia thing is the angle that people are coming at about these false flag events. So people are saying, oh, Russia are preparing for a false flag event and they're going to use that as a reason to attack. And then everyone's like, well, aren't you just saying that Russia are preparing for a false flag event? So when it happens, and actually it's you guys, the West, that are going to do it.
Yeah, that's a fair argument. And also, America are known for false flags, for example. They literally are. Pearl Harbor and arguably 9/11 were pretenses to go into war. You could argue that, but I think it's funny that if they're not actually planning a false flag exercise, I'm talking about NATO here, for them to, it's so hypocritical for America to drive that narrative when they have planned false flag exercises and in the past like that. But there is a good chance that there will be some kind of false flag exercise on one side or the other.
Yeah, probably both sides.
Yeah, there's a chance we're going to war, a pretty significant chance. They're saying that it's the most dangerous time since Cold War.
And I've also heard that there is a real risk that, if this does all escalate, we could literally be without gas and electricity at some point.
That wouldn't be a bad thing. It's not renewable.
Yeah, I've got my little log burner at home. You can go down to mine and keep warm.
I've got some candles and a few blankets. But the internet, we won't be able to do the podcast. This could be the last one.
Oh, yeah. We did mention this before, actually, didn't we? We said we'd take it on tour around different towns, stand in the town square and read out our podcast.
Oh, yay!
Yeah.
Oh, yay!
Electric Honk is here. I'd be up for that.
It'd be a roaring success. Goose news. Okay, it's over to you. You've got a tough week this week. You got a few things on.
Yeah, this one actually came quite easily because this was actually sent in to us by a long-time listener of 10 episodes, Mike Poland.
All 10?
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
I reckon he's listened to all 10. He's a number one fan, I reckon.
We should become friends with him.
So he sent me this, and this is local Goose news. Not only is it local, but it's pretty recent as well. Headline is Fire Crews Sent on Literal Wild Goose Chase in Salford Quays.
Salford Quays?
So Salford Quays is a rejuvenated part of Manchester. It used to be a bit rough. Now it's where all of the TV studios are and nice restaurants and stuff like that.
So we can drive to Salford Quays in like 20 minutes, can't we, from here?
A large emergency presence was called to Salford Quays just before 5:15 on Wednesday evening, February the 2nd, with a number of fire engines and tactical response units seen in attendance. Greater Manchester Fire and Rescue Service said they were called to the scene near to the Beefeater restaurant by the RSPCA to attempt to rescue an injured goose. Photos from the scene show that the Water Incident Unit was searching the quays on boats with diving equipment in tow. Fire crews spent an hour and a half at the scene but were unable to track down the injured goose. Crews were in attendance for approximately an hour and a half. Well, that is the definition of a wild goose chase.
I mean, I like geese, don't get me wrong. I really do. But they're not doing themselves any favours, are they? These public services.
That is a waste of public expense, isn't it, really?
They've been through so many cuts and, no wage rises and all of that.
Yeah.
And then they all get together and go on a literal wild goose chase.
Imagine if your house is burning down and they'll be like, yeah, they'll be with you in probably about an hour or so. They're just dealing with something else first.
With what? Oh my God. That's insane.
Yeah.
Actually insane. And they didn't even find the goose.
And that's the worst thing. Yeah, the RSPCA reported it and were unable to provide any further assistance in finding the goose.
What if that person just happens to be a listener of this podcast?
Yeah.
And he's like, oh, this would be a great story.
Yeah. Imagine if it was Mike.
Bespoke geese news.
If you're listening, make your own goose news. Make it happen and send it in.
Right.
We're up to pork scratchings.
Pork scratchings. I've been looking forward to this. Oh, Polo's here, by the way. Diving equipment for a goose. If you're using that, it might be dead. He's got a point. I've been looking forward to this pork scratchings for about 5 weeks because that's when I found out about it. And it was just after my last pork scratchings. Okay. You did one 3 weeks ago. We're now here. Why is Victor Noir's grave a fertility symbol?
It's a it's like a bronze statue where it's gone green over time, but the cock is still like shiny. Like you quite often see on some statues, people will rub a certain part of it. And
he's certainly got. He's packing, isn't he?
Yeah.
Vince Noir, a big penis.
Yeah. Statuized.
So what happens with this is it's some sort of superstition that if you are experiencing fertility issues, you can go to his statue. Women can go to the statue, rub themselves up against his statue.
Oh, right.
And
women do that.
Yeah, women do it. So there's loads of pictures of women. Sometimes they wear like kinky underwear and all sorts. They get photographs for Instagram and stuff like that. And they're supposed to, by doing that, get really, really fertile from it. Okay. And also, you probably didn't notice from the picture, but also his face is also rubbed, so they kiss him and stuff like that.
Yeah, okay.
So we'll show the picture for the YouTube edit, but I'll just read a little bit about it, just so that you've got a little bit of a flavour.
I want to know about him, where he's from, and
luckily for you,
why he's the symbol.
So
of fertility.
Victor Noir, who was born in 1848 and died in 1870, was a French journalist. After he was shot and killed by Prince Pierre Bonaparte, a cousin of the French Emperor Napoleon III, Noir became a symbol of opposition to the imperial regime.
Good lad.
His tomb in Père Lachaise Cemetery in Paris has become a fertility symbol. A life-size bronze statue was sculpted by Jules Dalieu to mark his grave, portrayed in a realistic style as though he had just fallen on the street, dropping his hat, which is depicted beside him. The sculpture has a very noticeable protuberance in Noir's trousers. I think it means he's got a semi on.
Yeah.
This has made it one of the most popular memorials for women to visit in the famous cemetery. The myth says that placing a flower in the upturned top hat after kissing the statue on the lips and rubbing its genital area will enhance fertility, bring a blissful sex life, or, in some versions, a husband within the year.
Nice.
As a result of the legend, those particular components of the otherwise verdigris, which is green oxidized bronze, statue are rather well worn and shiny, as are the tips of the boots.
Okay.
Interesting. In 2004, a fence was erected, great word, around the statue of Noir to deter superstitious people from touching the statue. However, due to supposed protests from the female population of Paris, in fact led by French TV anchor Perry Cochin, it was torn down again.
Good. What is the point in putting a fence around it? Like, clearly it's something that the public like doing. It's not causing harm to anybody.
But that's why people put fences around me.
I'm still not sure why him, though. I don't know what he's done in his life to make him the fertility beast.
I literally think it's because they've made a statue and the guy has a big dick.
Okay. Not everybody with a big dick gets a statue. So why,
I don't think that's the reason why he got the statue.
I need to know why I'll research this afterwards. I'll find out why there's a statue of him.
The next Pork Scratchings, the history of Victor Noir.
That's
and
good,
what
though.
a great name as well.
Yeah, it is good.
I just thought that was really cool. Such a cool modern day,
It's amazing that people still do it.
Yeah. Like, it's made me want to go and see it. I mean, I'm not going to be rubbing my genitals against him, but my wife might.
It's cheaper than IVF as well, isn't it?
COVID rules.
Absolutely.
Just dropping them, aren't we? Just dropping them. Like Victor Noir's trousers.
How do you feel about all the rules being taken away?
Well, it doesn't affect people because, as you say, there are basically no rules there at the moment. The one thing I'm not so comfortable with is they're talking about, and this is really bad, they're talking about making the PCR tests. You go to these big white tents, someone puts up a sign that says go left.
They've got like flipping hazmat suits on.
Yeah, don't roll down your window and all this. Well, they're getting rid of those. They're the PCR, and then there's the lateral flows now will be paid for.
Yeah.
So I can kind of understand getting rid of those if people aren't really using them anymore, the PCRs, but making lateral flows a paid test, to me, just says that potentially poor people or people that don't really care are not going to take the test when they should. So they're encouraging the spread.
If you're not feeling well and you feel like I'm going to go and visit my grandma or somebody with health vulnerabilities and things, most people would probably think, I'll go and grab one of those free tests, just make sure I haven't got COVID.
Yeah.
And just make sure it's a stuffy nose or whatever.
Don't want to kill my gran.
Yeah. But the fact you got to pay for it now is, or you don't actually have to yet, do you? But they're talking about it. I think they must have so many in stock that why just let them be free until we run out or something?
The thing that bugs me, you apply any cost to something, it just adds an extra layer of complexity.
Yeah.
So whether it's £1 or if it's £20, there's a cost implication to that.
Yeah.
But you can say, okay, well, at the poorer end of society, people might be able to afford 50p or £1 for those tests, which might cover the manufacturing bill for it. It probably won't. But even in that situation, because of the complexity of having to make a payment, fewer people will do it.
Bother,
and some people won't do it out of principle.
Yeah.
And I'm sure there will also be people that don't do it because they cannot afford it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I just think it's insane.
It gives the impression that we don't really have to worry about COVID anymore in this country when other parts of the world are taking it really seriously still. I kind of feel like, well, maybe this is because of the culture we live in, I do kind of feel like there's nothing to worry about anymore. Like, I'm quite happy to walk around a supermarket with no mask on and things. Yeah,
no, I would agree with you, but then part of that's probably my age. I think I'd be a lot more worried about it if I was in my 60s and 70s.
That's true, yeah.
So,
I read in Hong Kong, if you test...
You went to Hong Kong?
No, I read a book in Hong Kong. No, I read in Hong Kong, if you get COVID or if you got a positive result from a COVID test, even if you have no symptoms, you have to go to hospital. And the hospitals are so overrun that there was like a 70 or 80-year-old woman with COVID and she had to wait outside for like 8 hours before she could be seen.
That's insane.
What a ridiculous rule that is.
At that age as well, like she's basically a goner if they don't
they weren't
treat her.
prioritising your vulnerabilities. It was just like first come, first served. If you've got COVID, you have to go to hospital. And all the hospitals are absolutely rammed and people are queuing outside for hours to get in.
We watched the Southampton game last weekend, and I did say, you said to me, Harry Maguire, you said, is basically massively overrated and he's just stealing a living. I think you said something like he deserves to go to prison or something like that.
I don't think I said that, but he is in really bad form and he is so overvalued at 80 or 90 million, whatever United paid for him. It's embarrassing. He's not awful, but he is not as good as people think he is.
So you saying that to me really heightened my awareness to his play on the pitch. And sometimes when you're watching football, you focus on certain players more than others. I was really focusing on his play, and he really is a bit of a donkey.
Yeah.
He was messing up so much. The amount of times he put United in a position where they could concede a goal because of his errors was way more than you'd expect for an £80 million player.
It's embarrassing that they paid that much money. I think they just got a bit excited when Leicester won the league. He was playing quite well for England, and they're like, oh, yeah, English centre-back. It must be the next Rio Ferdinand.
They're always overpriced, aren't the English players? But so it begs the question, should he be United captain? And I did say this at the weekend, maybe what United need, because I think United have got a great squad overall. I think United should quite easily be getting into the top 2 or 3. They certainly shouldn't be struggling in like mid-table pretty much, or 8th, 9th, 7th place that you're at the moment. So I think that if they remove the captaincy from him, he might play better, and give it to someone else, they will play better, and it'll just signify to the squad that the manager is willing to make changes if people are underperforming.
I heard that he's had a bit of a falling out with Ronaldo. He's feeling undermined by Ronaldo, who's strutting his stuff around the dressing room, shouting at players and getting pissed off with the state that Man United are in. And so there's discussions to be had between Maguire, Ronaldo and the manager, Ralph Rangnick, about who should be the captain. And on the radio today, they were discussing, well, what is the role of a captain?
That's an important point.
Yeah, and they were saying, well, the role of the captain is not only leadership on the field, but also you're like the go-to if you're terrified of the manager, or if there's something you don't want to raise to the manager but you've got concerns. It's somebody you can actually approach and who is like the voice of the team to then go and speak to the manager. And actually, if Ronaldo's got that attitude where he's looking down at Harry Maguire and he's shouting at players and getting pissed off, that's not captain material going by that definition of a captain, is it? I mean, if he's maybe trying to lead by example on the pitch a little bit because he in his head he's probably the best player, he doesn't seem to be the sort of person who's, you know, trying to bring people along with him and say, come on guys, we've got this, you know, I'm here for you, and I'm the team, I'm the leader of the team.
Ronaldo we're talking about.
Yeah. I feel like he's more of a, you guys are
low ranger.
You guys are awful. Like, yeah, am I doing everything here? And if they are going to take it off Maguire, the rumours are that, you know, it could be given to Ronaldo, but I feel like that's a worse captaincy.
I think that having a defender as a captain is not always the best choice anyway. So I it's just a personal thing. I think you should always have someone in the centre of the field or a forward, because you can impact the game probably more in those positions. And the midfield just positionally is able to influence more people around him.
Well, in that case, you're saying that the role of a captaincy is mainly on the pitch then?
I think it is, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, personally. Maybe like 90% on the pitch, 10% off the pitch.
Right.
Because you can make the biggest influence off the pitch when it matters. Whereas, let's say, for example, somebody like Milner at Liverpool, he's not captain at Liverpool, but he can make a lot of difference off the pitch.
Yeah.
He's not going to make a lot of difference on the pitch, and he hasn't for many years now, but he's not a captain. But he can just... You get... What I'm saying is you still get a lot of players that raise the bar off the field.
Yeah.
Whereas on the field, you don't always get that.
Yeah. So he's like a leader off the pitch because he's there for other players. He's there as like a father figure. He'll help people out.
Grandfather figure, but yeah. So I just can't see Harry Maguire just being that supportive and that good off the field. And we can see on the field he's not really that good as well.
So if we're talking 90% captain material on the pitch and you're not saying Harry Maguire, who the hell can be...
At United?
Yeah, who's showing that leadership? I don't think there's anybody that is captain material in the United team, really. And Maguire was the sort of like the easy option because he plays quite well for England. He's quite big in stature. I imagine he's actually quite nice off the pitch, that people can approach him and speak to him about things rather than Ronaldo. I think there's a lot... You'd be intimidated to go and ask Ronaldo for help.
Ronaldo's got the gravitas of someone that you would want to be captain. People will listen to him.
Yeah, apart from... I mean, yeah, they would have done, but I feel like now he's on his way out. Yeah.
He was top goal scorer in Serie A last year.
Yeah. Serie A is a lot slower than the Premier League, though, isn't it?
That's fair. Yeah, that's fair.
And I think he had a lot more time, and I just feel like he's struggling a bit. Although he did score a nice goal for United against Brighton, but then, you know, he's still missing like chances around the keeper, and he was like one-on-one with the keeper and passed it to Bruno, who missed. And
I think as a minimum, United need to make a change. Whatever that is, they need to do. And if that's removing the captaincy and trying Ronaldo out or Jazier or someone else, they've got to do something, because the way things are going at the moment, it feels like implosion.
There's no obvious choice as a next captain for United, and I think that's something they need to consider in the transfer market. Although it's quite hard to bring somebody in and make them captain, but it's something they've got to look at long term and think who's going to be a future captain.
We did both of us watched the Rooney documentary, didn't we? And we talked previously about... I'm not a fan of Wayne Rooney at all, and I never was. But having watched that documentary, there's newfound respect for him, because you realise that even though he's made a lot of mistakes in his life, when it comes to football, he was completely dedicated, and he just wanted to be the best player and play the best he possibly could the whole time. And there's a lot of respect for that. He was regarded as the best prospect in English football for a generation. Yeah,
he was unbelievable, wasn't he? He was like, even at 16 years old.
He was a man in a 16-year-old's body.
Yeah.
So, but the reason why I'm mentioning Rooney is because when Rooney was there, he is the sort of guy that would have brought up the average level of play, the intensity for United. Harry Maguire's not going to do that.
No, absolutely not.
I think there's more of a chance that Ronaldo will do that than Harry Maguire.
I agree with that, actually. And
Polo's saying, MD pronounces player names like he's the commentator on Pro Evo. Thanks for that, Polo. What can I say? I've not kept in touch with football the last year or two. Fucking calling me out in chat.
Let's move on to boxing then. There's
moving on.
Kell Brookie and
Amir Kran.
So that's Saturday night. That's tomorrow night.
They have been at each other's throats for years, those two.
They've been asking each other for a fight for a long time. Amir Khan has apparently chased the money a lot more than Kell Brook, and is actually, I think there's some people suggesting there's a bit of jealousy on Kell Brook's part. Like, why has he made so much more than me when we're on an equal level? I think they've both become world champions in their time. And you've got a little bit of Lancashire versus Yorkshire rivalry in there as well, which is quite cool.
I think that'll be a really good fight, but they're both past it, aren't they?
Yeah.
So it's kind of just, they're basically both just doing it for the money. It's a bit of an exhibition fight.
I think so.
I mean, I'm sure they'll both get to decent fitness, but Amir Khan's, he's got to be in his mid-30s now.
Yeah, he's definitely got grey hair coming through his beard. Yeah. So he's definitely past his peak.
I remember Amir Khan, I saw him in Manchester once.
Yeah.
We were giving out flyers, we were just PRing for a club. And he was a real dick.
You know, like those reality TV shows like Made in Essex or Made in Chelsea and The Only Way is Essex and all that sort of stuff.
I'd probably watch that.
He did one for him and his wife or girlfriend, like living with the Khans or keeping up with the Khans or something like that. And that was pretty horrible to watch. But he came across like a fairly nice guy, to be fair.
I think he's probably matured a lot, over the years. He comes across a lot better now, I think. But I think he's made a lot more money than you would probably expect him to.
Yeah.
Because a lot of the money is in the heavyweights and the higher weight leagues. He's lower down the weight league, although probably not as much these days. So you expect that the earnings are significantly lower down. But he's I think he's got like 25, 40 million net worth, that sort of level. I would have expected it to be more like 5.
Apparently he's quite bad with money as well. Like,
really?
Doesn't keep on top of it. His girlfriend is actually, he leaves all that up to her. So
wow.
He's renovating some like massive hotel/wedding venue or something like that. And he just
a random one. Yeah, he's really
somewhere
bad
in
money,
Bolton, I think. He didn't know how much anything cost. He was like, I just want to see it look nice at the end. And his girlfriend was like, well, she was in charge of finances. And she doesn't actually strike you as somebody who's good, intelligent.
So she's just a better
She's
of a
not
bad
there
bunch.
for the brains. Yeah, she's just she's left in charge with it. So
right, well, in your significant boxing knowledge, particularly about Kelly Brook... And Kelly Brook. Now that's a fight I would. That's a fight I would pay to see. Amir Khan and Kelly Brook.
Well, going on what I heard on the radio.
Okay.
Kell Brook sounds like he's a lot more serious. He feels like, I felt like he's got a lot more fire in his belly. Whereas Amir Khan was like, we've had a lot of beef over the years, and I'm going to teach him a lesson, And it sounded quite sort of like he just felt like he had to say that. Whereas I felt like Kell Brook was a bit more like a bit of hatred in his voice. So I'm going to go Kell Brook.
I'm going to go Kell Brook. And the reason I'm going to go Kell Brook is because he's probably got a bit more grit about him from what I've seen. He seems a little bit more like, fire in his belly. And I feel like he's probably going to take it a little bit more seriously. I feel like Amir Khan's probably got the better end of the deal money-wise. Maybe 60-65% of the purse.
Possibly. I'll be supporting Amir Khan. Just because he's from Bolton, I know he's a Lancashire lad, so I want to see him win.
Yeah, same. Are we at the end of the pod?
That's it. We're all done, aren't we?
Crikey,
there's nothing left on the whiteboard.
Absolutely flew by for me. Did it you?
It felt fast. We had some good subjects, and we've got through them quite quick.
Right, well, I think we've got a couple of people in chat, so thanks for chilling with us. Anyone that's in chat at the moment, appreciate it a lot. Anyone that's listening, Spotify, Deezer, all the Audibles and YouTube and
Give
stuff.
us all a French salute.
French salute from the night.
Lift the visors up. Yeah.
French night. Bring your garlic.
And onions. Stripy tops.
See you later. Thanks for listening.